So, has all of this sounded a little pie in the sky to you? Cultivating affections or disciplining good habits. Even for me, it can all sound a little idealistic, and I've been practicing these ideas for 8 years. We're dealing with real kids, real sinners, and not to mention our own actual selves. We all have days we aren't interested in towing the line with our kids, and our kids all have days where they'd much rather play Pokemon than read Shakespeare. So how does this framework move from true to real? I want you to reimagine what we've been discussing. We operate from a foundation that children are born persons and that their work in education is this science of relationships from one idea to the next. On top of that foundation rest all these additional pillars: the atmosphere we create, the disciplining of the will, narration, a variety of subject matter, and then over the top of all of these ideas is Charlotte Mason's last principle of education. She says we allow no separation to grow up between the intellectual and spiritual life of children, but we teach them that the divine spirit has constant access to their spirits and is their continual helper in all the interests, duties, and joys of life. At Feast, we don't overwork to make every lesson a Bible lesson, but we do know that in all our lessons, the Spirit is present, and that all truth is God's truth. God was the first artist. He's the first composer, the first explorer, the first in all that is good. And it is only by His power that we may exert self-control and cheerfulness and orderliness and attention. So we seek Him when our wills are weak. The framework we've gone through tells us how we will operate on Community Day. It tells us what kind of choices we make for curriculum, classroom management, and more. The framework also helps us know when we need to adjust. But what it does not do is make us holy. This framework does not transform our hearts to love what is right. Only God can do that. And He is good. It is only because of Him and His love and His work in our lives, in our children's lives, that we endeavor to do all that we set out to. We trust that He is present in all the interests, in all the duties, and all the joys of life. And we trust that He will be at work in our hearts and our children's hearts at Feast. I hope this series has been helpful to you. Next, we are going to meet in person for practicum, where we will practice what we do every week in community. We will walk through morning assembly, artist study, composer study, nature journaling, geography, Shakespeare, and even folk dancing, and understand how we execute all of those subjects each week. We'll also talk about our strategy for disciplining the will. How do we partner together to all be on the same page in our classrooms where mom may or may not be present? How do we all work together in the same way when our practices at home might be slightly different? We're going to go over all of this at practicum. It's kind of like a tasting party. Take a little time now and write down a short narration of what you have learned as we've gone through this training. This will help you really internalize everything we've talked about. You can also take a minute and write down any questions you have from the training or anything that was maybe confusing so that we can talk through that when we are face to face. I'm really excited about this new year. I think it's going to be wonderful, and our kids are going to learn a lot of lovely, fun, interesting, exciting new things, and that we're all going to grow together. Thanks for listening, and I will see you soon.